Good afternoon. Welcome to Dining for Women's special event to commemorate and celebrate the International Day of the Girl. My name is Jamie Cooper. I'm Executive Director of Dining for Women, and we're so glad that you have joined us today. In December 2011, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution that declared October the 11th as International Day of the Girl Child to recognize girls' rights and the unique challenges that girls face around the world. For its second observance, this year's day is focusing on innovating for girls' education. The fulfillment of girls' right to education is first and foremost an obligation and moral imperative. This is per the UN General Assembly that also said there is overwhelming evidence that girls' education is a powerful transformative force for societies and for the girls themselves. Lawrence Summers, a former chief economist at World Bank, said investment in girls' education may well be the highest return investment available in the developing world. There's a lot of work to do, and a lot's been accomplished already due to the hard work of programs like those that have joined us today on this panel. With us, we have Robin Woodland, the Development and Communications Director from the Nepal Youth Foundation. Travis Ning, Executive Director of Starfish One by One. Marsha Wallace, the founder of Dining for Women. And Zara Bott, the Development Director at Maasai Girls Education Fund. Roya Norton, the Communications Associate from Maasai, was going to join us today, but due to illness, Zara has most graciously stepped in to present on behalf of that organization. I want to tell you a little bit about these groups. Maasai Girls Education Fund works in Kenya. Dining for Women featured this organization as one of our programs in June of 2012. The mission of the organization is to improve the literacy, health, and economic well-being of the Maasai women and their families in Kenya through the education of girls in their communities. The next organization, Nepal Youth Foundation, obviously is working in Nepal, and Dining for Women featured them as one of our programs in January of 2012. The mission of the Nepal Youth Foundation is to offer hope and opportunity to Nepal's most impoverished children by providing them with what is every child's birthright: vital health care, education, and a safe environment. Starfish One by One. This organization operates in Guatemala, and they were featured by Dining for Women in February of 2012. The mission of this organization is to empower young women through education and mentorship to become leaders in their community. Young women whose potential has been unlocked during the Starfish One by One program will break the cycle of poverty and exclusion and positively transform their families, communities, and country into more just, healthy, and equitable entities. And of course, Marsha Wallace, our founder at Dining for Women, is also joining us, and we're so glad she could be here with us today. So for the next 45 to 50 minutes, we're going to hear our panelists speak on the topic of what is working in girls' education. Each of our panelists will have a brief presentation, and then I'm going to present them with some questions that have been provided by our constituents in the weeks leading up to today's presentation. This is Dining for Women's first Google Hangout, so if anything goes amiss, please forgive us. We've done our best to prepare a terrific event for you today. We're streaming live and we're tweeting live, so if you want to follow the discussion, use the hashtag DFWGirls. That's like Dining for Women Girls, DFW Girls. After the event, the recording is going to be available on YouTube at DFW Events. So at this point, without further ado, I would like to turn our program over to Robin from the Nepal Youth Foundation.
Hello, greetings. Are you seeing me? Am I on your screen? Okay, great. Listen, I want to start by thanking Jamie and Marsha and Laura for hosting this Google Hangout and for all the amazing work that Dining for Women is doing And before I start talking about the topic at hand about the education work that we're doing in Nepal, I want to take a minute to share some very exciting news with all of you Dining for Women supporters who may be out there listening, or anyone who's been concerned about the issue of child slavery among girls. The Dining for Women support from the events that they did in January last year raised $47,000 for Nepal Youth Foundation's Indentured Daughters program, which is the program that has been operating since 2000 with the purpose of freeing girls from indentured servitude in Nepal and helping them build a new life. And in the years since 2000, we have freed over 12,000 girls, which is almost all of the girls who were in indentured servitude, and have provided special education programs for them. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But we've also been working with the government in Nepal, even though this practice of child slavery, indentured servitude, has actually been illegal all along, the enforcement of it has been missing. And through a lot of work that involved everything from going to the Supreme Court in Nepal to get affirming decisions, to most recently this year, a lot of very active lobbying by the organization that freed girls have put together for themselves on their own behalf, has put a lot of pressure on the government. And this summer, this is something to celebrate on International Day of the Girl, the government officially affirmed the abolition of the Kamlari system of child slavery in Nepal, and has committed itself to enforcement of that. And that's a huge victory, and something that I think everyone in the world should feel really great about, because if we can do that in Nepal, we can certainly do it everywhere. So thank you to all of you who have helped to make that happen. And actually, if you go to our website, nepalyouthfoundation.org, on the homepage there, you will see a video message from one of the girls who was freed from the Kamlari system, and who is now a very articulate spokeswoman for the cause of supporting those girls. So go and check out the video message that she made just this week for International Day of the Girl. So I'm going to put on my screen share thing so that we can take a look at some slides. So you should be seeing a slide now of our logo. Is that coming up? Okay, great. So the Nepal Youth Foundation was founded by an amazing woman, Olga Murray, who had quite an amazing career. She was one of the first, if not the first, women to graduate from Harvard Law School, and was the first woman to be employed as an attorney by the California Supreme Court, where she worked for 27 years as a staff attorney there, and had been traveling in Nepal late in her working career and in her early 60s, and fell in love with the place and fell in love with the children there, and wanted to do something for them. And she founded the Nepal Youth Foundation in 1990, and has served as president until just last year, when she retired as now honorary president, still on the board and still very active. What we do is bring freedom, health, shelter, and education, a comprehensive array of programs to serve Nepal's most impoverished children. And over the years, we've served a total of 45,000 children across the country. There's a whole variety of programs. You can go to our website to learn more. I'll just point out a few of them here. As we mentioned, the Indentured Daughters program is bringing about an end to the Kamlari system of slavery. And I chose this photo to show you because one of the keys to making that program work was understanding that families don't sell their daughters into servitude because they don't love them. They sell them because they're so poor they don't have any other options. So part of the program was to give families a goat or a pig to raise for a year, and that by raising the animal for a year and then selling it in the market, they would earn as much or more money than they would have earned from selling their daughter, and that was one of the keys to making it work, among other things. We also have a program called Nutritional Rehabilitation Homes to treat really severely malnourished kids who you can't just take those kids and just suddenly give them regular food. It takes a specialized course of getting them back up and running and eating well. And the program is designed to also care for mothers who are often malnourished and who need education and support to understand how to help take care of their kids as best they can. Nepal Youth Foundation is one of the pioneers in bringing nutritional information to Nepal, and this dietitian training program is one of the first in the country to be doing that kind of work. We also have 2 children's homes. These are the kids from 2 of the homes put together, and that's another big part of what we do. The idea being that the kids in Nepal, just like probably children most everywhere, really need a lot of different kinds of support. Our education programs are focused around scholarships. That's a lot of what we do, is providing scholarships for kids to attend grade school all the way up through college. But we also recognize that kids need support in order to be able to be ready to be in school, so they may need housing, medical care, or counseling. We've also been involved in classroom construction and teacher training. So the topic today is what makes programs successful, and so I'm going to, here comes the disclaimer. You're not talking to the best person to find out about what makes NYF's education program successful. And the reason is they're all in Nepal, which is as it should be. They are all living and working in Nepal, and it's midnight over there. So what you get instead is me. And I can tell you, I cannot tell you from a technical perspective about what kinds of curriculum things in particular make it work, but I can tell you from an organizational point of view what it takes to make these programs work. And I think it's a lot of the kinds of things of what it takes to make any program work where you're working across cultures in the developing world. So one of the core things that has to be in place for all this to work is that the programs have to be deeply rooted in the local culture, with the people in the community participating in informing what the program is actually going to be. So for instance, one example is that Indentured Daughters program. There was a thought, oh, well, we should just give them the money that they would have made for their daughters. Well, it turns out what we learned from the community is, no, don't give us the money, because the temptation is going to be to spend it right away. But if you give us the animals to raise, that's going to work better for what we have going in our families. So following that idea is the programs need to be staffed by people in the community and then supported from outside expertise. You can't just fly in people and say, hey, we're going to teach your kids what they need to know. That's not how it works. It's important to understand, and this is true even here in the United States, really, in order for kids to learn, they need to be in good shape to be able to learn. And so that means you have to be thinking about their whole well-being and providing holistic support that gets them ready for learning. This photo here is showing that kids are getting food at lunch at one of the schools. There's medical support. Sometimes it's, families need kerosene lamps in order for kids to be able to study at night. So you have to really be thinking about a holistic approach to getting kids in a position to be able to learn. And following that idea, the schools and classrooms and education programs need to be connected to a comprehensive circle of services. This is a photo of another one of Nepal Youth Foundation's pioneering programs, the Angkor Psychological Counseling Center. It's one of the first in the country. Serves children primarily, but also young adults. And this is a shot of kids in a yoga class. And I just love it because it reminds me that, oh right, yeah, kids are whole people and they need all kinds of support. It's really important that educational programs are academically and developmentally appropriate for what's actually happening in the kids' lives in the communities they live in. This is a shot of girls who have been freed from Kamlari indentured servitude, probably in their late teens or mid-teens. They have not been attending school all these years. So now you've got a 15, 16-year-old girl who wants to go to school, is now freed from indentured servitude. You can't just stick those kids in a regular classroom that would, children their age would normally be in. So what we did is created what's called a bridging program, and the bridging program is an accelerated, personalized course that helps these particular girls who have not been attending school get ready and caught up so that they can get back into the regular school system. Our programs are also designed to provide vocational training. Not everybody is in a position to continue on to college. Either they don't have the resources, or maybe that's not what they want to do. This is a photo of one of the freed Kamlari girls who's in our vocational training program working in a printing press. But then we also provide financial and academic support for kids that are college-bound, and this is a group of girls who are graduating and who will be ready to go to college. All of this work, and for instance, the success that you were hearing about the end of the Kamlari system, really takes a long time, and that's probably the most important part of all of this. It's guided by long-term strategies, and it's fueled by long-haul investors. There's a core of donors and foundations who've been around the Nepal Youth Foundation almost the entire 23 years. And from the beginning, the strategy was, we're not just blowing in and out of here in a couple of years. We're here for the long haul to see these programs develop organically and take root and really grow so that they can be sustainable on into the future by the people themselves. And to do all that, you need an organization that's driven by visionary people who just have a passion for the work. And so you see Olga, the founder, there in the middle, and on the right side there is Som Panaru, who is originally was one of the youth who got a college scholarship from Nepal Youth Foundation, and 18 years ago he came to work with the organization, and now he's currently our president, has taken over that role from Olga. So Olga and Som really are the kind of leaders that it takes to make all of this work. So thank you for paying attention to all that.
Robin, thank you so much for your very interesting presentation, and congratulations on the wonderful work that Nepal Youth Foundation is accomplishing. We are very honored to be part of your success. That's and I say that on behalf of almost 9,000 members and a founder that's with us today. It's just very exciting for us to hear these sorts of reports. So thanks again for your presentation, and at this time I would like to reintroduce to our audience Travis Ning, the Executive Director of Starfish One by One. Travis?
Thank you, and thanks everyone. I hope everyone can hear me and that I can manage this screen share as well as Robin just did. Congratulations, Robin. Dining for Women was really generous with their support in February 2012, and it really came at a key moment as far as where Starfish was in its organizational life cycle. And the support that they provided was critical because at that point we were just experiencing pioneers, and pioneers is really the word. We're pioneering Google Hangouts today, and that's what the girls in Guatemala have been doing in pioneering high school for the first time. So what Starfish does is focuses on first-generation young women in Guatemala, and primarily among indigenous Guatemalan women. So within our hemisphere, Guatemala consistently ranks last place in terms of the gender equity gap, and that's a measurement of political, educational, health, and economic access. And so that within that very marginalized population, indigenous women, rural indigenous women are at the very bottom. So that's where we're starting. And what we're trying to do is is create a first generation of pioneers that really set the bar at a totally different level compared to everyone else around these communities. And the Dining for Women support came when we had our first wave of cohorts that were coming through high school for the first time. And it was really stunning to see just how hard and how steep that climb actually is for someone who's coming out of a community that's never gotten anyone through primary school. And so I'm going to now attempt my own screen share. The formula that we use for this is this. This is our secret recipe that's not so secret. It's the Starfish equation. So basically, as we all know, the girl effect and this amazing phenomenon really starts with the girl getting into school. That's perhaps the easy part. The trick is letting her stay there and having her thrive when she's in there. And so what we've come up with is this concept of mentorship and peer support. So by incorporating the support, the full-time paid support of a community-based mentor who's a woman who's among the less than 1% of Indigenous women that have actually gotten to university, and having her really be the all-around helicopter mentor for each young woman, that's what we define as support. The other key part of support is a peer group. So as pioneers, these young women are often the first to be in their communities, walking down that road, headed towards school and middle school, and then high school they have to go even further. The catcalling and the social pressure, and all of her peers are marrying off around 16 or 17. It's tremendously difficult for her to keep going. But if she has sustained access to a cohort of 14 other peers that are doing the same thing, suddenly she has a safe space where she can be herself and really explore and perfect some of these new abilities. And then if you layer in the concept of knowledge, and that's access and use of systems that have traditionally been denied to Indigenous women forever, and that can be anything from banking and financial systems to reproductive health. And more recently, we've really delved into not so much the external access, but the internal access of each young woman, specifically areas of enhancing her own resilience levels or her own vocal empowerment. So again, this is a population that's never been asked to give their opinion, and so when they're suddenly challenged to do so in high school, they really don't have any practice in that. So we've done a lot of innovation more recently around these concepts of really working the internal part of each young woman so that she can therefore use the knowledge and the know-how in the know-how format. And what we believe that creates is a girl pioneer. A girl pioneer is a first-generation everything. And basically what that means is one that will set the bar and break down the doors for everyone else. Starfish is defined by these three key concepts, and that's innovation and partnership. And what that means is we're constantly confronting new challenges, so we constantly need to innovate new practices. And like Robin echoed, really that comes from there. That comes from that group of core mentors that have walked that walk and therefore can talk that talk, not from an office up here. And I happen to be in Colorado. I don't have a lot of firsthand experience being an Indigenous young woman, nor would I ever pretend to, but we're very, very fortunate to have a very empowered staff there that knows exactly how to take something that doesn't quite fit, and it might come from a different country or a different context, but they can make it fit into that context. And we do that through partnering through organizations in Mexico, Guatemala, and in the US to really bring cutting-edge, new and innovative approaches to very traditional and long-standing problems. And again, that key part that again Robin echoed is the Indigenous voice, that these are the women that know how to navigate the excessively and exceedingly difficult cultural boundaries that we're always bumping up against. These are girls that are scratching on things that have never been scratched, and it's a voice that's honestly never been heard. And they're the ones that can set the bar for these young women, and they're the ones that can help stand behind them when these young women are standing up and pushing it on their own. And really focusing on individual impact. It's a program that's extremely focused and narrow in what it's trying to do. We do this one thing, and we're doing it for a generation of 500. So really, the focus of Starfish is to see how far 500 of these highly empowered and amazing women could go, rather than really measure how many we could serve. And the Dining for Women support was really critical in the evolution of this concept, because it supported us as we got these young women through high school. But what we realized that they reach high school graduation is and like in this country too, they're really just getting started. It's something that that we had never expected them to get this far and to be going as fast as they are once they reach high school. So what we've decided to do is to just pursue the generation of one 500 generation over the course of 20 years. We have 15 more years to go, and to see if they can set the bar and honestly put Starfish out of business, which is what we always say we want to do, and we're hoping that we can absolutely embody that. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, and I'll pass the microphone on. Again, thank you all for attending.
Travis. And once again, I would like to say again what I told Robin, and that is that Dining for Women is really pleased to be part of your success, and to hear that we're making such a difference in girls' education, and with your new initiative is really exciting for us. So as I had told our guests earlier, Roy and Norton from Maasai Girls Education Fund is not able to make the presentation on behalf of that organization today due to illness. However, Zara Bott, the development director from Maasai, has graciously stepped in to represent the organization, and she is actually going to be speaking to us by telephone. So I'm going to ask our very talented communications director, Laura Haight, who I have to say I forgot to thank at the beginning of this for putting all of this together. But Laura is working with Zara, and they will be working to bring you the presentation for Maasai Girls Education Fund. So Laura and Zara.
Zara?
Hello?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, and I apologize for not having pictures and a nice presentation for you, but I'll try to explain a little bit about what we do. And again, I'm the Director of Development Programs here at Maasai Girls. So we were founded about 10 years ago by Barbara Lee Shaw. She had been visiting Kenya quite a bit and really fell in love with the Maasai people and culture, and wanted to kind of figure out how to be a part of helping to alleviate poverty there. But she particularly saw, and as everyone understands, the need for education of girls in order to alleviate poverty in general, and the importance of what educating a girl can do. So it started with just a few sponsorships of girls, because it can be really expensive to get through that whole school process. And so started with a few sponsorships, and we've grown out from there. Now our main mission is to improve the literacy, health, and economic well-being of Maasai girls, women, and their communities. And we work in partnership with our office in Kajiado County. So we have a pretty small, similar to Nepal Youth Foundation. Most of our work is being done over there, and we have wonderful Kenyan women and men helping to run our programs over there. So our work is twofold. As I mentioned, we have sponsorships, and we now sponsor over 100 girls in that area of Kenya, and that's all the way from primary up through university or vocational school, whatever it is that girls decide they want to do. And these are need-based. They don't have anything to do with grades or anything else. And that was always important to Barbara, because what she has seen is that over the years, even if girls were not performing well in primary school, when they have that support and those resources, she has not seen one girl not perform well. So it's very much a need-based sponsorship. We also provide community education, and this is a big piece of the work that we do. And it was sort of born out of, seeing the importance of these sponsorships, but also the issues of barriers to education. So you can give a girl a sponsorship for school, but there's so many cultural factors, and just in terms of what she's dealing with in her daily life and within her family, that can prohibit them from being able to continue. So we have different types of workshops. We have life skills workshops that we deliver to both girls and boys in the communities to discuss reproductive health and family planning and talk about safe sex and things along those lines. And like I said, we do that for girls and boys. We also do have workshops for the chiefs and elders and women of the communities, the leaders of the communities, and of course that's in order to get the buy-in of the people who are making the decisions in the community, because it's not enough to just want to support the girls. Such a big part of working in girls' education is in having dialogues and conversations with men, because they are oftentimes the ones in the power positions. So we work to get their buy-in and to get them to see the value of this, so that they can then be really supporting the girls and pushing that initiative in other communities around them. We do women's business trainings as well, working with women to give them the resources to invest into some kind of a business, and hope that little bit of seed money will help them to have some financial just be a little more secure in their situation, and also be able to then provide more security to the family. In addition, we offer mentoring workshops to the girls, and these are great. And again, it's important when you're working in areas where maybe girls have not seen someone graduate even from secondary school, let alone going to university. So showing them that there's more opportunity out there open to them, and that that's possible to even go to university, or it's possible to be a doctor or whatever they want to be. So mentoring is a really important piece of working to educate girls, so that they have role models. So we also, so kind of the biggest part of what we do is, and I know that it was important for our founder that we are not Westerners coming in and trying to talk about why female genital mutilation is bad, because this is a part of what we do in our Chiefs and Elders workshops, is to discuss why early marriage and FGM are harmful, but to do it in a culturally sensitive way, and in a way that comes from within, so that it's about starting a conversation and a dialogue, and not saying that this is bad, but just trying to discuss other ways of moving forward, maybe other ways of having some kind of a coming of age tradition that doesn't include such a violent act. And because what we're finding is that the men are also interested in this, and they're receptive to these ideas, and in a lot of cases they come to us and request these workshops, for villages that are nearby, or for us to come back out, because some people were not able to attend the last one. So like in anything, it's just about having a dialogue, and so we continue to do that work. And again, it's mostly all in Kenya, with a small staff here. And and I guess we just hope that this creates a sustainable cycle of these girls then coming back to their communities and showing that they're worth more than the small dowry that they get when they're married off at 11, 12, 13 years old, and showing that they come back and contribute financially and in many ways to their families and their communities. So that's our hope in this work. And I'll leave it at that. Sorry for being brief.
Zara, thank you so much for your presentation and for stepping in at the last minute. I certainly enjoyed hearing that, as I'm sure our other listeners did, and also want to extend to you our gratitude from Dining for Women for being allowed to be part of the success for Maasai Girls Education Fund and your important work that's going on in Kenya. So at this point, I would like to ask our founder to speak. It's one thing to read about programs, but to hear about them is so much more impactful, at least for me, and I think a lot of people would share that viewpoint. And Dining for Women is no exception. You get to read a lot about us, but you might not know much about us. But one of the things that we do is fund a lot of programs that at least have an educational component, and many of them are entirely focused on education. So that's a big part of our mission, and we understand the importance of educating our own members. But given that this is International Day of the Girl, I'd like to ask Marcia to talk just a little bit about why girls' education is so important to Dining for Women. Marcia?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Yep, you can. I'm so excited to be participating in our very first ever Google Hangout on such an amazing, International Day of the Girl. It's a wonderful opportunity to introduce you personally to some of the programs that we funded, and we get really attached to the programs that we fund when it starts from the application process all the way through to the follow-up reports, and to get to put faces to see Travis and Robin and hear firsthand the outcomes of some of the work we've invested in is so exciting and rewarding. The mission of Dining for Women is to promote the self-sufficiency and self-determination of women and girls around the world. We want to offer a hand up, not a handout. We want to be partners in their achieving self-sufficiency and finding their voices. And you can tell from hearing from these individual programs that we funded in the past, their approaches are different, the issues that they're addressing are different, but they're making amazing impressions on the lives of women and girls, and it's humbling. It's humbling for our members to learn about the need and to be able to participate with people who are doing the work on the ground that makes a difference. From, the Kamlari program in Nepal, to know that we're having an impact in the freedom of those girls, in the vocational training. So a lot of those girls end up doing vocational training as opposed to going through primary school and secondary school and on up through university. And with the Maasai Girls Education Fund, what we invested in were the community education programs. So for us to know that we're supporting community education of mothers learning about reproductive health information and sharing that with their daughters, and getting the entire community involved will impact the outcome of those girls' lives forever. So the education shows up different ways for different programs, but the outcome is all the same toward promoting self-sufficiency and self-determination. And the education that Dining for Women values isn't just education in the programs that we fund, but as Jamie alluded to earlier, the education that we provide for our members is also crucial, because for us to be able to get a massive, critical mass of people behind the idea of gender equality and promoting education for girls takes education on our parts to understand the need and why it's so important. Global thought leaders know, and studies have shown, that education for girls increases their options and their opportunities. It improves their health and their life expectancy and their incomes. And it also decreases the age at which they marry, decreases the number of children that they have, decreases their risk of getting HIV/AIDS, decreases infant and maternal death rates. So we're really, really passionate about our mission to empower women and girls through our model of education, connection, and collective giving. And this Google Hangout today is an example of education and connection. We are hearing firsthand about the impact of our work, connecting with the people who are working directly with the programs, and hopefully on this auspicious day, International Day of the Girl, everyone who's observing and participating in this Google Hangout, or people who will watch it later as a recorded version, will catch the passion that we feel for making a difference, and will continue to support our work with Dining for Women. And we look forward to maybe doing this again next year for the International Day of the Girl. I really want to thank Robin and Travis and Zala for the work that they are doing to carry out the work of the organizations that they're with. So thank you so much.
Marcia, thank you very much for your insight as to why this is so incredibly important. I think that one of my takeaways, anyway, before we get into the questions, is that the benefits are just massive when you think about girls' education. As all of you have spoken about, it's almost immeasurable. And the other thing that I think is important, a good takeaway, is that education is not in the same neat little package everywhere you go. It depends on who you're serving, their ages, what their background and history is, the country that you're trying to deliver your program in, and just a lot of different variables, which kind of leads me into the questions that we've received. We have about 18 or 19 minutes left that we can entertain some of these questions we've been given. So the first one that I had chosen for us to kick off with, I think really is we've got a good segue into that, and the question is, what are the biggest barriers to girls' education in the regions where you work? Now, I've heard a couple things as you were making your presentations, and as Marcia was speaking as well. We've heard the local staff could be a barrier. Are you not able to get enough staffing? Perhaps the community isn't buying in. Are there some cultural issues? I'm sure that there are, for each of you in the countries where you're delivering programs, some barriers that are maybe more prominent than others. So I'm going to ask, I'm going to go around the virtual table, if you will, and ask Robin first. Robin, for Nepal Youth, what are your biggest barriers to delivering education to girls?
Well, again, I want to be clear that I'm not a program expert, but from what I can see, without being an expert, and that you can hear this in what Zara and Travis were also talking about their work in completely different countries, is I think the two primary barriers to education have to do with, frankly, the repression of women and girls in various cultures around the world. It starts with that. For instance, in Nepal, if a girl's in indentured servitude, she's not getting an education. So you have to be figuring out how to work in communities at that level, and that's a long process. And for instance, in Nepal with the Indentured Daughters program, it's a gradual process of helping families and villages of families. A lot of this happens in the more rural areas of Nepal, helping them, see a different vision. But you can't tell them that vision. They have to experience that as, a result of some kid's life improving. So when a family sees, the girl in the home next door just came back from Kamlari service, and instead of being a worker, now she's a student, that just having that happen starts to shift people's vision of what's possible, and it catches on. But that's an organic process. But you have to be dealing with the oppression of women and girls at a really root level. And then the other biggest barrier, of course, is poverty. And that, again, gets into, if you think holistically, what does it take to support a child in being able to learn? It takes more than just plunking them down in a classroom. They have to be fed, they have to be healthy, they have to be having their, a home, they have to have their emotional health intact. So all of those things are usually the result of, problems with those things are usually the result of poverty. And so you're having to build systems to support kids and their families to make it work.
Thanks, Robin. Those are really great answers. You know, some things I think that that we're familiar with, living for those of us in the audience and those of us here that are living in the U.S. We think a lot about poverty, but the oppression issues are something that isn't always on our radar screen. So that's good for us to know. Travis, for Starfish, what are the biggest barriers for you guys in delivering girls' education?
I would certainly echo what Robin mentioned and just add on. For us right now, our biggest challenge is sustaining the momentum. And one of our mentors recently said, everything that makes a girl or allows a girl to thrive in Starfish, her proactivity, her assertiveness, her critical thinking, her leadership, are exactly what get her torn apart as soon as she leaves Starfish. So it's everything she's developed and all these skills are to her detriment at times as soon as she applies these skills outside of the safety of Starfish. So how do you bridge that gap? And that's our biggest challenge, is making it a lifetime change and creating, I guess, the internal fortitude of each one of these young women to be able to endure what's going to be a lifetime of resistance. And I think certainly in this country there was an entire generation that endured that same challenge. And basically, it sounds like the three of our programs are doing the same in these respective countries in exceedingly difficult contexts. But how does an organization like Starfish, which is small, but we like to think of ourselves as fierce, how do we respond to that? And making sure that each one of these young women, as they become women and older women, are able to continue to carry this torch further, because they are going to light the path and the way for those that follow. So it's I guess it's just going further and deeper into the subject, and realizing that it's not a glass ceiling at all. Actually, it's a big, giant, infinitely thick piece of ice that we're all chipping away at, that never gets broken through. She's never going to have a smooth sail once she gets through this layer. It's going to be the rest of her life, and making sure that she's strong enough and that we're strong enough as an organization to be able to continually fight the good fight. That's our biggest challenge right now.
Thanks, Travis. I think sustainability is something that we all worry about and think about and look for, particularly when it's someone's life and their future. So I appreciate your comments, and I know everyone else does, and hope that people will give a lot of thought to this. Zara, for Maasai girls' education in Kenya, what are the barriers that you guys are facing most in girls' education?
I think biggest barriers are, as I mentioned earlier, kind of cultural, and I hesitate even to say that because this is within the Maasai community such a strong, beautiful culture, and but within that, as in all culture is a dynamic thing. It's ever changing, and I think about like the Chinese, maybe when they would do the foot binding, that was something that ended. And I'm sure, here in the U.S., there are plenty of things that we've changed that we said were cultural and that we wanted to hold strong to, but we had to let go of for human rights reasons or whatever else it may be. Culture is ever changing. So our biggest challenge is in just kind of working within those communities to deliver that message and show that it's, and as we said earlier, and as other organizations have stated, it needs to be something that comes from within and that's organic, and that people can see the value of that. So kind of just in dealing with particularly the views of early marriage and female genital mutilation, and how to make sure that everybody is at least being educated about it and educated about other options and other ways of living that will, in the end, help them to thrive. And there's no reason that within the Maasai communities, it can't, educating girls can't be a part of their culture, and having they're already strong women, but having strong educated women can't be a part of Maasai culture in the future. So kind of just that cultural barrier. maybe is one of our biggest. We'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Sarah, thank you. Appreciate the insight from the experiences that you have had through Maasai Girls Education Fund. So we have a few more minutes for questions, and I would like to ask each of you to answer very quickly. We've heard the strategies that you're using that you think work best, things like peer-to-peer counseling, mentors, life skills classes, and those sorts of things. And I think we've identified that the same methods don't always work in every culture or with every age group. So I would like to ask, beginning with Robin, we'll go in the same order again, Robin, then Travis, and then Sarah, what strategies do you think work the best for your organization in girls' education? Robin?
Well, I think the main overall strategy that has worked best is to not have one strategy. It's to have a comprehensive approach. So if you think about how complex the culture is, when you think about all the varying conditions of all these kids and their families, I think that's the key thing, and you've heard that in what all three of us have had to say about the work our programs are doing in these different countries. In particular, I know that part of what has helped is that thing that I mentioned earlier about making sure that you're providing academically and developmentally appropriate opportunities for kids' education. So that example of the girls who are being freed from Kemlari slavery, having never attended school, now they're teenagers. That was an example where Nepal Youth Foundation actually created a specialized curriculum just for them, and the idea being how do you quickly accelerate a girl's learning when she's already a teenager such that she could get involved in regular school again. So again, that's the idea being that the actual educational strategy is coming from what's needed to meet the girls' or the children's circumstance.
Thanks, Robin. Travis, how would you respond to that? Strategies working best?
I would say at a more conceptual level of strategies, a bit like Robin mentioned, being comprehensive, and for us, steering into the hard stuff has really proven to be a big piece of our success. And in the context that we're describing, often it's family violence or there's abuse, things that traditionally NGOs and nonprofits kind of want to steer clear of and pretend is not happening and want to work in spite of these things. We've realized that through the hard way, of course, that by pretending these things don't exist, it just ends up becoming a more painful loss when it does eventually surface to the detriment of each young woman. So our philosophy is much more, it's evolved around the idea of if it's an issue, we want to address it. And speaking particularly about families, and they need to be on board. It can in our experience, success can only be achieved with families, not in spite of them.
That's a great answer. Thank you. And then Zara, what strategies are working best for Maasai?
I think I'll just be probably echoing what you guys have said. And I think having a holistic approach is hugely important. Attacking it from a lot of different angles, the immediate need, which is to provide scholarships so there's even money to go to school, but then dealing with families and community issues and kind of just coming at it from every direction. And I also think that working with a partner organization on the ground there has been really useful because having Kenyans running the thing there it has added to the efforts of trying to make it be a little more of an organic process, and they're so wonderful, and they've been such a huge asset. And and they love doing it. So I think working with partners on the ground that are already doing work there as well, and working, just building partnerships, whether it's with government or other nonprofits, and utilizing other resources. But certainly at the front of all of that is just kind of having an approach that attacks from all angles.
Thanks so much. So we've talked about the barriers, we've talked a little bit about what works, and we're down to about 5 minutes left in today's event. So I'm going to combine a couple of questions and ask each of you to answer this. We'd like to know, especially because of what we're working or focusing on today, how can we as individuals make the world more aware of the issues, the importance of girls' education? How can we support and advocate for girls' education in less developed countries? Robin, would you like to take that one on first?
Sure. Well, as we've been saying today, it actually starts with education for those of us across the world who care about girls but haven't really thought through long enough to figure out, oh, it's education, that's the key. So having the kind of conversation that we're having today and keep inviting more people to join the conversation is key. And then I think that the other thing that we're hearing from all of these programs is these solutions take a long time to build and a long time to take root and really grow in the community. And a child's life, unfolds over many years, and they need support for many years. And so what that means is that these organizations need support over the long haul. And that's actually a very radical notion. It wasn't that long ago that all of the emphasis in nonprofit services was all about how many people are you serving, and how fast can you get it done. And for instance, I was really inspired to hear Travis talking about Starfish's commitment to saying right from the beginning, oh no, this is a long-term project, and a very radical idea. We're not interested in large numbers. We're interested in deep transformation, and that is really what's going to take. And what that means for people all around the world who want to support that effort is we need you to be involved in an ongoing way.
Thank you, Robin. Sorry for the delay. I was having trouble with my mute button. Travis, so what's your take on what we can do to create more awareness and support?
Again, echoing Robin and saying, I guess we can all look at the way organizations have been measured and judged, and there's a traditional philosophy around how a nonprofit should operate, and we all need to keep our admin low, and we're not allowed to fundraise, and we're not allowed to innovate, and we're not allowed to take risks. But all of this takes innovation, fundraising, and risk-taking. This is different. To change a paradigm requires all of this, and to be held to the same old standard and old paradigm while being expected to change a paradigm is almost impossible. So I would invite everyone who's listening to this to just think about how an organization can be empowered to do this work. And it is the long game. It's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. But just think and question some of the critical ways that organizations have always been judged, and question what really is success and what is impact. And just think critically. That's my invitation to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for weighing in on that. I hate to cut us short, but we are practically out of time, and unfortunately, I won't be able to give Zara the opportunity to chime in on that. But I do think that your comments are a great way for us to conclude our event, so that we walk away understanding the importance of telling others about what we've discussed today, of it helping to be part of that paradigm change to ensure that education is supported in such a way that girls are empowered. So I want to thank you all, Travis, Robin, Zara, Marcia, Laura Haight, the Dining for Women Communications Director, for having this idea to begin with. I have to give credit where credit's due, and for putting it together. And also, Jeanette Collins, our co-founder's daughter, has been our resident tweeter since June when she graduated from college, and she graciously gave us some time this afternoon. And if you've been tweeting or follow Twitter, the hashtag is DFW Girls. So if only for the next 24 hours, or we're well into it now, the world is focused today, we hope, on this topic. So I encourage all of you to take advantage of this. Talk about it on Facebook. Discuss it with your friends over dinner tonight or over coffee this afternoon, and keep talking about it. If you want to tweet about it, use the DFW Girls hashtag. But I think we are really charged with keeping this conversation alive. And I want to thank all of you for being with us today and bringing attention to girls' education, to celebrating and commemorating the International Day of the Girl. And want to thank you, our panelists, and our guests again. So everyone have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful weekend.